here that I have here, where I found out what works and what doesn't work. I'll be happy to share this all results with all this stuff over there and what works where and what doesn't work in a certain place with all of you. I'm going to put up a link to a blog that I do on the Raptivity Presenter site, and on next Monday, the coming Monday actually, I'm going to put a blog post up there that puts all these findings over there. So we'll know exactly what's going to work in 2003 older versions and what's going to work on PowerPoint for Mac. Actually, nothing's going to work on PowerPoint for Mac, or what would work on the PowerPoint 2010 viewer. So all that content will be put up on the blog over there. Okay, so I'm going to take off the Excel sheet over here. Don't worry, I'm going to share it with all of you all later. Okay, Jill, does that answer that question?
I think so. I think so. That'll be a good reference to look back later. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so what we have done now is we've actually gone and added Flash content using the Developer tab in 2007 and 2010. And we've also added Flash content in PowerPoint 2010 using the Insert Video option. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and proceed with the rest of the presentation here. Okay, we've already covered this part. Okay, now we come to the part when you want to go and share your content with someone. So how do you go and share it? Just because you put everything in the same folder, that makes it easy for you if you want to share the content and move the whole presentation with the flash movies and everything else to another computer. You just copy on a USB drive or an external hard disk, and you copy the entire folder and put it in another computer, probably even over the network, and it will work as long as that computer also has all the 4 prerequisites in place that I discussed earlier. The second thing you can do is you can zip up the entire folder, and then you can send as an email attachment or FTP it, and people on the other end can download that zip file, unzip it into a folder, and everything should work for you. Okay. I had a question here. What's a PowerPoint 2010 viewer? I think it's a good time to answer that question as well. So anything that when you insert as a video in PowerPoint 2010, that works in the PowerPoint 2010 viewer. The PowerPoint 2010 viewer is a free program from Microsoft that lets you view PowerPoint files, but you can't edit them. You can do 3 things. You can view your PowerPoint file, you can print them, and you can project them. So if you just go and Google for PowerPoint viewer, the first link that you get gets you to download the viewer over there. The viewer is free of cost. Just download it and install it on your computer, and it works for you there. Okay, then we have some caveats. I already discussed about PPT or PPTX. We discussed 2007 and 2010 essentially, okay? And these programs, these versions of the PowerPoint save to PPTX files. If you back save them as a PPT, this will work in PowerPoint 2003 as well. But as I said, embedding is not something that works all the time. As far as possible, you have to let the default, which is embed is equal to false, be there, and just place the flash movie, the SWIFT file, in the same folder as your presentation, okay? And then any flash content in PowerPoint 2010 that you insert as a movie, as a video clip, will not work in any version other than PowerPoint 2010, not even PowerPoint 2007, but it will work in the PowerPoint 2010 viewer. And there's no support for flash SWIFT playback in any of the Mac versions of PowerPoint. Okay, so we are open for the rest of the question and answers, Jill. And
yeah, I'm just getting caught up on some of these. So
sure.
I think you just addressed the Macintosh question. They kind of wanted just to know why Flash doesn't work with Mac.
Yeah, and there's another question that I see that so the Mac doesn't have a PowerPoint viewer. Yes, the last viewer for PowerPoint on the Mac was somewhere, I think, several years ago, and that was probably even before OS X. So you don't have an updated view of a PowerPoint on the Mac now. Okay. Any other questions, Jill, there?
Yeah, we actually have a very specific one. A little bit of a
Yes, go ahead.
troubleshooting for you. It says I have a flash inserted into a PowerPoint 2007 and it's looping. So the other slides are following. This is an intro, but I have to press escape and move manually to the next slide. It doesn't work with the mouse. Do you have a solution for this?
Okay, so what I suspect is happening here is the flash file that he or she has inserted into the PowerPoint slide covers the entire slide. If it covers the entire slide, there's no control on the slide. So what you have to do is you have to keep a certain area of the slide visible. Otherwise, any controls that you work on will not happen because they will actually act with the flash movie rather than with the PowerPoint slide. So I think that answers your question because I see you typed in yes over there.
Yeah, great.
Okay, there's a question that says a new Microsoft Office came for the Mac. Does it still not work in that? Unfortunately, no. The new version 2011 that came for the Mac, that still doesn't support Flash. Okay, so are we done with the questions, Jill?
I think so. Let's just leave it up for just one more minute in case anybody has any other questions here.
Absolutely. Until you look at the questions, I need to just tell you here that this whole session is being recorded. I do understand that a lot of you would like to look at how I do the process and then do it on your computer side by side. So yes, that's you can get the recording and use that. I see a nice question there. Someone asked me, "Hi, I love your current template. How can I get it?" Okay, this template is actually part of PowerPoint 2010. So it's not something that I have created on my own.
Okay, just to let everybody know, there's going to be some time for some more questions. At some point, we're going to turn this over to Andy from our Harbinger team, and he's going to show you a couple things. And so if you have some questions, at that time, we will also have another time for Q&A in just a moment.
Okay.
Okay, we're getting a lot of more questions. This is good.
Yes, I can see that. Okay. Do you want me to go ahead and you
Sure.
want to ask me the question? Go ahead and ask me the question and I'll answer them.
Okay. Let's see, when we have, if a SWIFT file is embedded, do we still need to distribute the SWIFT file with the PPTX?
Ideally, no. But we don't live in an ideal world, okay? So I would suggest, just in case, because you know there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes over here. And the Flash player comes from Adobe, and the PowerPoint, the program comes from Microsoft. And sometimes there are security issues, and it has been known that some versions of the Adobe Player would not work unless you embed them. And we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And when you create a presentation and add a Flash movie to that, you know it works today in your computer, but you want to make sure that it works tomorrow in every other computer as well. So I would always recommend that even if you embed it, put the SWIFT folder in the same file. Okay?
Okay. Here's a good question. Can we use any version of Flash to produce SWIFT files?
Well, yes. Right from the first version of Flash, that is Adobe Flash to Program, the output has always been SWIFT files. And since the viewer engine in PowerPoint, courtesy of Internet Explorer, is continuously updated, it can always play any Flash content created in older versions of Flash all the time. And I also need to emphasize over here that what happens is that Adobe Flash is not the only program that can create SWIFT files. There are like probably thousands and thousands of programs, simple, easy programs that do. There's some one-trick pony programs, and there's some programs that output Flash as movies, and there's some great programs like some from Harbinger that output interactivity stuff and all that. So, you know, all these programs can actually go and create SWIFT files. So all of them would work, yes.
Okay, we have one more question, a little bit of a review, just going back to, again, explaining what that more control part was when you
Sure,
insert the Swift file in the developer tab. Maybe we can just go back
absolutely,
a little
most
review on
certainly.
that. Okay.
Sure. So I'm assuming you already understood how I got the developer tab there. Okay. So now that I have the developer tab here, and you see the controls area here, in the control areas, you see several controls. So what you have to do is you have to go to this particular control. When you hover your cursor over it, you will see a tooltip that says More Controls. So you got to click on that button, and this opens up a dialog of the same name, More Controls. Okay, this More Controls area has lots of controls. My controls will be different from the controls that you have on your computer. Don't worry, because all of us will have Shockwave Flash. So select any of the controls and hit S. That takes you to the first controls that starts with S. I go to Shockwave Flash Object, click OK, and then I drag around to place an instance of the control there. And now what you see is an empty Flash control, okay? It doesn't contain any Flash movie. So if I go and play this over here, you will see nothing plays there because I haven't linked any Flash movie here. If I had to link a Flash movie, let me see what I have in the same folder there. Okay, I have a tangram.swift there. So I'm going to right
And while
click.
we're reviewing this, Geetesh, while we're reviewing this, also we have a question, what to keep in mind, parameters, when creating a Flash element prior to inserting it into the PowerPoint. If
That's a
there's
great
any
question.
special considerations.
I'll
Yeah,
sure. I'll just go and type the Flash name there and get back to that.
sure.
That would complete this question. So I have inserted the Flash movie there, and you can see the Flash movie is now playing there. Okay. Okay. Now coming to the question, what are the parameters that you have to look for when creating a Flash element prior to inserting it to your presentation? The most important thing you have to consider is whether you really need a Flash movie in the first place. You have to have a compelling reason to add Flash content. PowerPoint as such is very powerful, okay? So you really have to make sure that Flash content is there, one. The second thing is you have to decide if it's going to add value to your presentation. That's the second part. The third part is you have to decide what you want to do. Do you want to create the Flash content on your own, or you want to source it from somewhere else? Is ready-made content available? Do you have someone in your organization or office who could create the content for you? You have to decide those factors and then go ahead and use the techniques that we taught you today and insert Flash content in your slide. Okay, I see an option that says I don't have Shockwave Flash as an option in my More Controls dialog. So what you have to do is there's a URL at the end of this presentation. Let me just take you there. Actually, it's just the next slide. So I'll just take you there. So this is a URL you have to go, Flash Runtime, download and update. Get into Internet Explorer, okay, and click this link, or you can just save this link, make a note of that. Open Microsoft Internet Explorer and go to this URL. This URL will check if you have the Flash player installed or not, and it will install it for you. You just have to follow the process over there, some step-by-step routine over there, and then thereafter, you probably may want to reboot your computer, and you should have the Shockwave Flash control into your system.
Okay, we have another good question here. Does the Flash file play automatically when you advance to the slide it is on?
Yes, it does. If you go and see, I have a Flash file in the previous slide here, and I go back to there, and you will see that the Flash file is playing automatically.